P. Tahara.
Okay. Can I share my screen? Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today I'm going to present my paper entitled Translating Masculinity into Different Culture. Is Jacob Black masculine in Indonesian version of Twilight Saga novels? Next slide, maybe. Can I share by? Oh, okay. Okay. Why I choose Twilight Saga as my source of data? Because it is written by Stephanie Meyer and it is sold more than 250 million copies, and it is sold at more than 50 countries in the world, and it is translated into 37 languages. And I give a picture of Jacob Black here uh, to make it easy for you to imagine how Jacob Black is. And then move to the next slide. Okay. Actually, research about masculinity have been done by several researchers, like Chan, Fraser, Foss Hernandez, and also Gallagher here, related to translations. But all of them do not use uh, appraisal as the uh, approach to look or to analyze masculinity. Next. Okay. And there are some problems that I propose here. What are Jacob Black's masculinity expression in the novel Twilight Saga and in its translation, and how the appraisal system of the Jacob Black masculinity utterances, and what are the translation technique used to translate masculinity utterances. And then next to the literature review, I use Martin and White appraisal theory to analyze the utterances, which shows uh, the masculinity of Jacob Black, and then I use translation techniques proposed by Molina, and then I use masculinity theory of Chavez, 1974, which
I'm so sorry, Pak
masculinity
Yopi.
divided.
Pak Yopi, I'm
Yeah,
sorry for interrupting. We
yeah.
strongly suggest you to come directly to the finding because of the limitation of
Okay,
time. Thank you.
okay, okay. Thank you. Next. Okay. The methods. I don't have to uh, explain about how the method. Maybe a little bit about the method. Actually, this is talking about the utterances to show we chose the masculinity of Jacob Black, and then it is analyzed by several steps: domain analysis, taxonomy, covenantial, and finding cultural values. Next. And the discussions and result and discussion. The discussion, I mean, the result shows that there are 5 kinds of masculinities of Jacob Black: physical, interpersonal, intellectual, sexual, and emotional in the source languages. And then we have the same kinds of masculinities utterance, which shows the physical, interpersonal, intellectual, sexual, and emotional of the Jacob Black. Next. Okay, on the physical, we have a appraisal system here. We have 37 quality positive and then normality positive with 19 and capacity positive with 4. And in the target language, we see that 39 quality positive and 16 normality positive and capacity positive with 4. We have 4 kind of shift data. We have 4 data that's shifting in the virtual system. And then next.
Yes, Mister. You still have 1 minute remaining for your presentation. Thank you.
Okay. For interpersonal, we have two data that's shifting, attitude and appreciation. We have quality positive one, and social esteem capacity 2, 12. We move to the conclusion. That's the finding that I have. Move to the conclusions, and that is technique. And then this is the examples of the data. Okay, well, move next. Okay, next. Well, okay. The Jacob-type masculinities are is the dominant masculinities that of the Jacob is physical and then interpersonal, followed by intellectual and then sexual and then emotional. And the change of appraisal system will affect the message of the masculinity in the target text. Appraisal masculinity in the target text are mostly maintained. And there are 13 translation techniques used to translate Jacob Black's masculinity expression. Establish equivalence, variation, explicitation, modulation, natural borrowing, paraphrase, discursive creation, and compensation, transposition, explicitation, and adaptations. And then and reduction, literal also. Establish equivalence is the dominantly used in this in to translate the text. Okay, that's I think it's enough for me. I think it's too short for 5 minutes. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Pak Yopi. Now, please
Okay.
welcome our second presenters, Ibu Delvi Wahyuni.
Thank you, Miss Moderator. I'll keep my presentation to 5 minutes. I don't know why I'm in this chamber because everyone is talking about translation. I'm talking about teaching literature. But anyway.
Well, excuse me, Miss. Are you going to share your screen by yourself, or I am the one?
Do you have a presentation ready?
If you want to share your screen by yourself, so it's okay, okay, Miss.
Let me try.
Dian aja bantu. Udah.
Sorry.
Udah, tawarkan bantuan aja. Tawarkan bantuan aja.
Okay, okay, okay.
Okay.
All right.
Nggak bisa. Bersiap dengan videonya.
The video also?
Kalau nggak berhasil, video.
Oh, okay. Well, Mr. V, the screen is already shared. Is there any problem, Miss?
Nggak ada Miss Delvi-nya.
Replace with personal. Share. This is my screen. So the title of my has anyone seen my screen?
Yes.
Mr. Co-host?
Yes, Miss. Yes, Miss.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Okay, I'll try to keep it short. So the title of our study is Indonesian High School Teachers' Approaches in Teaching Literature in English. So this is part of my community engagement project. There are 3 of us. With Octavia, I know I did. All right. So the objective of the study is to find approaches utilized by English teachers in Indonesian high school in teaching literature in English. So this subject is quite new in the context of Indonesia because literature has begun to be taught only in 2013. Before literature Okay, and sorry. Okay, the method we employ, this is a descriptive study, simple descriptive study, and the method is we gather the data by using a questionnaire adapted from Huang and MB 2007. Sorry. Okay. Yeah. Questionnaire was administered online. So this is the result. There are basically 6 approaches in teaching literature: language-based, paraphrastic, information-based, personal-based, moral, philosophical, and stylistic approach. As you can see from the percentage presented here, the most popular approach is language-based approach, followed by moral, philosophical approach and information-based approach. And the least popular approach is paraphrastic and stylistic approach respectively. And what we can conclude from this is the teaching of literature in Indonesia falls under the category of what Carter and Long dubbed as the use of literature as a resource, like to teach language and moral lessons. And it is also very likely students are not fully involved in the process of meaning making, since teachers feed it to students, which is I can talk about later in my paper. And students' experience in learning literature is not fully addressed because language-based approach, because the most popular approach is language-based approach. So it's very likely that it is teacher-centered, where teachers tell students what the meaning of the works are, only listening to what the teacher said. Yeah, so that's the conclusion that we can get from the finding of the study. So that's it, my presentation. Hope I don't present for more than 5 minutes. Thank you very much. I welcome questions later on. Thank you, Ms. Moderator.
Thank you, Ms. Delphi Wahyuni. Now let's invite our third speaker, Bapak Sakut Ansori.
Sorry, Mr. Ansori, can you hear our voice?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, sir. So you're gonna represent your PowerPoint by yourself, or I will share it to you, sir?
I think I need your help because my network is unstable here.
Okay, copy, sir.
Yeah, right. Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Good morning, gentlemen, and then thank you very much to the moderator. I start to explain my presentation today because the time is limited. First, my title is The Translation of Dysphemism on YouTube by Sakut Ansori from University of 11 Maret. And the next slide. Yeah. Why dysphemism? There are 2 reasons why I do this research. The first, the rise of sex toy reviews on YouTube has been considered taboo in Indonesia because we have a deep culture. And the second, the sexual language is clearly displayed on YouTube. And the objective of the study here, this paper explores how language expression pertaining to dysphemism are rendered from English to Indonesia through closed caption. We know that in YouTube there is a new feature, what we say closed caption or CC. And the next slide. Here, the method of the research, I use qualitative design, and the source of the data, sexual language in sex toy review on YouTube pertaining to dysphemism and subtitles. And here I try to use technique for obtaining data, document analysis, following the theory from Allen and Burridge, 2006, sexual language expression, and then Sintas and Rimmel, 2014, about subtitling, and then translation technique based on the theory Molina and Albert. Okay, and the next slide. This is my finding. There are two findings here. First, dysphemism in sex toy review on YouTube. There are two categories of sexual language. First is sex toy, and the second is sexual orgasm in the form of linguistic unit, phrase, word, and then you can see the number in the frequency. And the second is translation technique of dysphemism on YouTube. There are two kinds of the translation technique here based on the sexual language categories. First is sex toy, and then sexual organ. For sex toy category, there are 4 techniques, namely literal translation, established equivalent, generalization, and pure borrowing. And then for sexual organ, there are 4 translation techniques here. First is generalization, and then established equivalent, and then discursive creation and literal translation. And we come to the next slide. Okay, this is the conclusion. Actually, there are 2 translation techniques significantly have positive effect in rendering sexual language pertaining to dysphemism from English into Indonesian. They are established equivalent and generalization, because this technique produce the accurate, acceptable, and readable translated product. They can keep the culture in target language, what we say in Indonesian culture. I think that's all from me. Thanks for your attention. And I say Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, thank you very much, Pak Sakut Ansori. Thank you too for the 3 presenters who have shared their ideas. But we would like to make sure whether Ms. Nurul Alfariza and Ms. Vini Rafika Octavia are here. Hello, Ms. Nurul. Do you have Ms. Nurul here? Ms. Vini Rafika Octavia? Okay, they are not here. Well, ladies and gentlemen, now we come to question and answer session. So for the first part, we would like to invite 3 questions from either presenters or participants. Okay, you may ask question to the presenters. Or presenters may ask question to the other presenters. Okay.
How many presenters do we have in this room, Ms. Rina?
Actually, we have 5 presenters, but 2 of them are absent.
Oh,
We don't know, maybe they have problem with the connection.
yeah, that is the problem, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
But if you would like to watch
Can I ask to Mr. Sakut?
Yes, please, Pak Yopi.
Okay. You know that a culture a culture really considered in translating a text here? And how do you consider a culture in translating sex toys? Sex toys. What is the data? What is the data of your translation research here? I mean, how do you consider the culture when you are dealing with sex toys here?
Wait, excuse me,
Hello?
Pak Yopi, would you mind repeating your question?
Yeah, because yeah, it's good to hello. Can you
Yes,
hear
yeah,
me?
yeah, Pak Yopi. Would you mind repeating
Okay.
your question?
Mr. Sakut, how do you deal with culture when you are translating about sex toys here? The culture, is Eastern culture and Western culture is different. So how do you consider that?
Okay, thank you, Pak Yopi. Well, next question from other participants or presenters. Okay, there is only one question. So please, Pak Ansori, will you answer that question directly? Pak Ansori?
Okay, thank you very much. I think this is a great question from my partner, I think, from University Class Maret. Okay, right. About the culture, of course, I try to compare the form of sexual language expression, because we exactly know that in Western culture, they try to express the sexual openly, but Indonesia is a little bit behind. So I just try to see the culture here by following the theory from birth. In what category we can say this expression is dysphemism, euphemism, and orthophemism. And after that, I try to see the translation product. And then because we are Indonesian, so we try to compare I'm sorry to say it. For example, in English, they say dick, of sexual organ. In the translation, in Indonesia, it's impossible. We try to translate it become like in short language. So we try to choose like euphemism. We can choose orthophonism by using the word like penis or anunya or senjatanya, like that. This is the very interesting what say problem, I think, because the translator have a problem how to manage this in a target language because of this issue. So this is one way that I do. About the culture, of course, because Western is not my culture, I try to see the rich one by looking from another resource. Especially, I try to follow the theory from Burridge. And then from Indonesian culture, this is a little bit problem for me because in Indonesia, sometimes for the target language is a little bit different for one word. In Sumatra, I believe this word is forbidden and then taboo. But in Java, actually, this word is still just so. That is the a little bit different. What we say problem, but actually I try to see in common thinking. Actually, I think that is my question and my answer. I think. And a little bit same with your problem, I think, Mr. Yopi, because masculinity in Western is different in masculinity in Indonesia.
Okay. Yes, it is.
That
Okay,
is my
thank you,
Well,
Pak Sakut, for the answer.
Thank you, Pak Sakut. That's such an interesting discussion. What about the others? Please have any questions? If there is more, there
Yeah,
is no more.
Miss Moderator.
Yep, Mr. Fee.
Ah, actually, I wanted to ask question, but Pak Ansori has already mentioned the answer that I was looking for. So
Okay.
it's about why the topic is sex toys, not other things. So yeah, the answer has already been there. So tidak jadi bertanya.
Okay. Well, if there is no more questions, actually you can leave the breakout room and you can go somewhere. I mean, to the other rooms, maybe room 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7. But you may not leave the Zoom meeting. Okay. As a moderators and co-hosts, we say thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
your attention and your participation in this discussion. And we hope that later on we can have a further discussion out of this room. So you can leave the
Thank
breakout,
you.
go to the other rooms.
Okay.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. Leave.
Can I have the link for the absent? Because I cannot open it. The link is not working, I think.
Well, we are working on it now, sir. So please wait a minute, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Halo, Assalamualaikum Pak Afid. You are still
Assalamualaikum Bu
muted.
Rina, Mas Yopi, Mas Ansori.
Yeah.
Okay, the discussion in this room actually has ended, Pak. So they moved to another room,
Okay. Thank
to another
you.
breakout room. I think.
Yeah.
Oke, di sini
You.
mungkin sambil ketemuan sama yang
Iya.
masih tinggal kayaknya.
Oh iya, reunian ya Pak, silakan.
Bang Hafid, gimana kabarnya Bang Hafid?
Alhamdulillah Pak Mas Ansori.
Yeah, I see that you look so charismatic today.
Masya Allah.
I believe it. And actually,
Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, hello everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the parallel session of the A International Conference of English Language and Teaching. And in this room, we have 4 presenters. Before I introduce you to the presenters, we would like to inform you that each of the presenters has only 7 minutes to present their papers. So our presenters today are Miss Paradise Princess from Universitas Negeri Padang. The second presenters are Miss or Mr. Suhaimi Ameng from Universitas Negeri Padang. And the third one is Miss Samsuarni Bakar is from Universitas Negeri Padang. And Mr. Muhammad Sarif is from Universitas Negeri Padang. Okay, for the first session, let's invite our first speaker, our first presenter, Miss Paradise Princess, with the papers entitled EFL University Students' Error in Constructing Complex Sentences in Academic Writing.
Okay, thank you, moderator. Could you help me to show my presentation?
Okay, copy. I'm doing that now. Is it available now, Miss?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Miss.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi.
In this great chance, I would like to present my research paper entitled EFL University Students' Errors in Constructing Complex Sentences in Academic Writing. Okay, next slide, please. The purpose of this research is to find out the type of errors made by the students of English Department of Universitas Negeri Padang in constructing complex sentences in academic writings. Next. The methods of this research. The type of this research is a descriptive qualitative research. By using this type of research, procedurally, Creswell 2012 argues that the qualitative data are collected by using a document analysis. Then the data are described and interpreted to get the meaning of the data. Data and source of the data. The data of this research are the students' errors in constructing complex sentences found in students' academic essays and academic writing course. And then the source of the data of this research is the student academic essays, totaling 16 academic essays, chosen by using the proportional sampling technique. And the instrumentations, actually there are two kinds of instruments used in this research. The first is the researcher. The researcher herself is the first instruments of this research. It is because of the researchers is the key of this research. The second instrument is a document analysis. In this document analysis, the theory of surface strategy taxonomy proposed by Dule et al. In 1982 is used to collect the data. It aims to analyze the errors found in the complex sentences made by the students in their academic essays. So this theory is in the form of indicators of error classifications, and the error found were put in the form of table based on the indicators of error classification, which is a surface strategy taxonomy. Okay, next. Findings. From the table, it can be seen that there are 128 omission errors, 55 additions errors, or 24%, and then 42 misformations error, or 19%, and the last one misordering error, or 0.4%. And all of the four types of errors, the total errors are 226 errors. From the findings, it can be seen that the highest occurrence of type of errors was omission errors, and it is mostly related to the use of to be, verb inflections, and comma. And the lowest occurrence of the type of errors was misordering errors, because there is only one error found in the student sentence related to the use of adjectives that describe a noun. It is only found just one sentence that contain a misordering error. Okay, the last one. Conclusion. From all the findings, it can be concluded that the students of English department at Universitas Negeri Padang, who have taken the academic writing course, made all of the four types of errors in constructing complex sentences in academic essays. The sequence of the type of errors from the highest to the lowest made by the students was omission errors, addition errors, misformations errors, and misordering errors. Hence, it can be interpreted that the students' lack of competence in constructing complex sentences, especially related to the use of dependent clauses, which are noun clauses, adjective clauses, and adverb clauses. Okay, that's all my presentations. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Miss Paradise Princess. Now we come to the second presenters, Miss or Mr. Suhaimi Ameng. Are you here? Okay. Now we come to the third presenter, Miss Samswarni Bakar. Is she here? No. And the last presenter is Mr. Muhammad Sarif from UNP. Will present the papers entitled The Use of WhatsApp Messaging as Mobile Learning in Developing Student Writing Skills. So please, Mr. Muhammad Sarif.
Okay. Oke, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Thank you for the chance at the age international conference English language and teaching ICOELT. Me Muhammad Sarif, and the second author is Professor Dr. M. Zaim M. Hom. With my title is The Use of WhatsApp Messaging as Mobile Learning in Developing Student Writing Skill. Okay, let's do the next slide. Is the introduction. The purpose of this research article is the first is to know the using of WhatsApp as mobile learning in developing writing skill, and the second is to describe the using of WhatsApp in learning to describe the using of WhatsApp in learning of writing. Okay, the next is literature of review. The first is writing. The writing have a research by Durga and Rao with the title Developing Student Writing Skill in English, a process approach. And the second is WhatsApp. The theory of WhatsApp that have found by the researcher is from the Kola and Sandy on the 2018 with the title Mobile Learning through the WhatsApp messaging, Facebook, and YouTube. And the third is WhatsApp for writing theory. It's from the Ahmed researcher with the title Chat and Learn Effectiveness of Using WhatsApp as pedagogical tool to enhance EFL learner reading and writing skill. Okay, the next, the methods. This research used the design of descriptive qualitative, and the data source is from the first is journal that related to using WhatsApp for writing skill, and the second is also the article that related to using of WhatsApp for learning writing. And the instrument of this research is documentation of journal and article. And the analysis of this research is how to use the WhatsApp as mobile learning in developing writing skill. Okay, the next is finding and conclusion. There is from the collecting of article and journal that the researcher collect. The using of WhatsApp is effective by using this procedure. The procedure that have found by the researcher before. The first is pre-writing, the second is drafting, the third is reviewing of and fourth editing, and the last is publishing in a WhatsApp group. And the conclusion for the using of WhatsApp group for the writing skill, based on many findings that the researcher conclude the use of WhatsApp as mobile learning is effective to develop the writing skill. It's depend on how the process that is teacher use in the teaching and learning through the WhatsApp. I think it's all for me. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Mr. Muhammad Sharif. Now we invite our presenter, Bapak Suhaimi Ameng. Bapak Suhaimi Ameng. Assalamualaikum, Pak. Pak Suhaimi. Halo, Pak Suhaimi. Oke. Pak Suhaimi, can you set your camera on? And also you are still muted. Hello, Pak Suhaimi? Maybe he has problem with the connection. Hello, Pak Suhaimi? Do you hear me, Pak? Well, ladies and gentlemen, while waiting for Pak Suhaimi, we would like to play the video of Ibu Samsuarni Bakar because she's not here. So we are going to play the video. Pak Suhaimi, kita ke ini dulu ya Pak ya, ke Bu Samsuarni Bakar dulu. Excuse me, Pak Suhaimi, can you stop sharing the screen? Oh, Pak Suhaimi, are you ready? Pak Suhaimi, would you mind stop sharing the screen? Pak Pak Suhaimi bisa videonya share screen-nya di stop dulu, Pak. Kita mau putarkan videonya Ibu Samsuarni Bakar dulu karena Bapak kayaknya masih bermasalah dengan internet connection. Oke.
The effect of collaborative paragraph writing.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's watch the video sent by Ibu Samsuarni Bakar because she's not here, so we are going to watch her video.
The effect of collaborative paragraph writing technique towards students' writing skill on recount paragraph at grade 10 of SMAN 1 Batang Anai. Introduction. Based on the curriculum 2013, the scope of learning English at senior high school is that students are able to understand and produce any kind of functional text. In this case, recount text is one of text types learned by the grade 10 students of senior high school in the second semester. Free writing is the common technique used in teaching writing as a conventional technique. Applying collaborative paragraph writing technique is regarded as an effective technique to motivate the students to write in English. Method. The population of the research was all the grade 10 students of SMAN 1 Batang Anai, which consisted of 6 classes. 2 classes were chosen as sample out of the 6 classes as the population of this research. From the 2 classes, one class was as experimental group and the other was control group. The experimental group was taught by using collaborative paragraph writing technique, and the control group was taught by using conventional technique. Both groups were given the same writing test, that was writing recount paragraph. Result and discussion. The mean score of students' writing of experimental class, which was taught by using collaborative paragraph writing technique, 70.69, was higher than control class, 63.9, which was taught by using conventional technique. It can be said that collaborative paragraph writing technique gave significant effect toward students' writing skill. It can be seen from the table. The T observed was bigger than T table. T observed was 26.6 and T table 1.67. It means that alternative hypothesis was accepted. Conclusion. Based on the research finding, it can be concluded that collaborative paragraph writing technique give significant higher effect towards students' writing skill than conventional technique. It can be seen based on the students' writing score in both classes. In short, it can be concluded that collaborative paragraph writing technique is more effective than conventional technique. Thank you.
Okay, that's all the video from Ibu Samsuarni Bakar. Now we come again to Pak Suhaimi. Pak Suhaimi. Hello, Pak Suhaimi.
Hello, Mr. Suhaimi, can you hear our voice?
Okay, if you can join us, so we are going to play the video from Pak Suhaimi. Okay, please, Mr. Dean.
Assalamualaikum
Start dulu deh.
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am presenter for the 8th International Conference on English Language and Teaching, or ICOELT 8. The theme, English Language Teaching, a research in the challenges or possibilities. The title for my article, Cubic Technique, a technique in free writing to improve students' writing skill. The writer for the article, Sohaimi, Mukhayyar, and Zaim Azwar Ananda. Introduction. Particular in learning English, the students are expected to be able to produce the writing in English. Thus, it needs good effort for teachers and students to improve student writing ability. Based on our experience in teaching writing, it was found that the students deal with some problem in writing. Basically, there are many techniques that can be used by the teachers, of course, in order to help the student to develop the writing skill. Those techniques may be applied in free writing stage, since free writing is the important stage in the writing process. One of those techniques is cubic technique. By applying cubic technique, it can help the writer to tidy the memories and to highlight the details and supporting ideas in developing the writing. The techniques can be applied in free writing state is a part of writing process. Research method. This research concerns on the use of cubic technique to improve student writing skill. This is classroom action research. In this research, it is related to the concept of improving the student writing by the cubic technique. This research was conducted at English Department of IAIN Kerinci, or State Islamic Institute of Kerinci. The participants of this research were students in 4A of the 4th semester classes of English Department students of IAIN Kerinci who take Writing 2 course. In this research, there were two types of data, quantitative data and qualitative data. Research result. The distribution for the student score in cycle 1, there are 12 students get score or the 66.67% in the first meeting, and the 4 last meeting, there are 10 students get score or the 55.55% in the last meeting. For the second cycle, the distribution of the score, there are 10 students get score or 55 or 0.55%, and there are 8 students or 44.44% get score the last meeting. And then the recapitulation of the first and the second and the third cycle for the implementation technique. The first cycle, there are 10%, and the second cycle, there are 8%, and the third cycle, there are 10%. A research result, based on data collection, it was found some factors which influence the student writing skill. Those factors include classroom management, teaching and learning time, teaching and learning media, reading material, and learning method. Conclusion of this article depend on the research. Based on the result of the research, the use of cubic technique in free writing stage improved student writing skill. It could be seen that where was the difference in student writing score between cycle 1, cycle 2, and cycle 3. The student could organize and develop their writing systematically through six approach of cubic technique. I think that's all my presentation for this article. Thank you so much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Well, it was the video from Bapak Suhaimi Ameng. Now we come to the second session, start question and answer. So here we invite for three participants to ask question. You may ask the question directly, or you can write the question in the chat. Now let's see. Well, participant and presenters, now we have one question from Ulia Rahmi Fadila to Bapak Muhammad Sarif. Why are you interested in choosing WhatsApp learning media? What about another social media such as Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and other social media? What is the more advantages in using WhatsApp in learning? So that's the question from Ulia Rahmi. Will you answer that question directly, Mr. Muhammad Sarif?
Directly answer, Miss?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for the question from Ulia. The question is why you are interested in choosing WhatsApp as learning media. In this digital era, there are many social media that have developed, such as Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and other social media that have developed and using by many people in the world. But as we know, the WhatsApp have the four types of message that improve that support our learning. For example, image message, video message, text message, and also audio message. As we know, from Facebook, Twitter, it's just for giving the status for the people. But for right now, for teaching and learning, I have is effective use the WhatsApp for learning process because by using the WhatsApp group chat as a learning process, uh, all of people, such as a student, all of student use the WhatsApp for their activities and for communication. They have feel enjoy use the WhatsApp, enjoy give the emotion, give the video, and by using the WhatsApp, this the teacher can give the variance education for the student before the material. The teacher also gives the video, image, and also the student also can give the audio for to answer the question that teacher give. I think it's all.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Muhammad Sarif, for your answer. What about the other participants or presenters? You can ask question to the other presenters, such as Miss Paradise Princess. Can I ask question? Can I ask question, Miss Paradise Princess and Mr. Muhammad Sarif? Moderator boleh bertanya nggak ya? Because I'm really interested in using WhatsApp for improving student writing. I don't know, how will you conduct the teaching and learning process? I mean, how does WhatsApp messaging work to improve student writing skill? Because what is in my mind is it will be difficult for the student to type on the chat room, and also it will be difficult for the teacher to check because the space, I mean the screen of the WhatsApp is smaller compared to other media.
Okay, I will answer for the question. I think for the student for WhatsApp group chatting, the student as the instruction from the teacher, so that the student will give the chatting and the writing for the instruction from the teacher, such as teacher ask the student to write the history, to write the experience on the WhatsApp group, so the student can enjoy to give the writing, and also the student cannot fear the mistake when they have sent the writing to the WhatsApp group, and also the student can interact with others to ask what about my writing, and also the other friends can correct the writing, and also after that the student also can send the writing to the teacher, and also the teacher manage the student by using the time. For example, today the student have to give the uh, drafting of writing, and then next or tomorrow the teacher asks the student to give the writing, and next the teacher will correct the writing of the student. I think it's enjoyed based on the teacher procedure and strategy that used in teaching learning by using the WhatsApp group.
Oh, okay, so you mean that all of the student will type the writing directly on the WhatsApp?
As can be.
Or they have to write it first in Word and then collect it through WhatsApp? Which one? Directly or through Microsoft Word first?
It's based on the teacher instruction,
So
and and
how
also
will this?
for the chatting every day, the teacher can give the freely writing to the WhatsApp group, and all of the student give the writing, and then the teacher ask to other friends to correct the student writing, and that the student that have give the writing,
Hmm.
they will not feel the mistake. They will not feel nervous about their writing. They just accept the correction from their friends.
Okay, I get a point. Thank you, Mr. Muhammad Sarif.
Okay, thank you, Miss
What
Novi.
what about the other participants? Do you have any question for the two speakers? Okay, now my question is to Miss Paradise. So that how do you pronounce your name? Paradise? Paradise? Is that right? Paradise?
Paradise
Yes.
Princess.
Okay, beautiful name. Okay, Miss Paradise Princess. The
Yes.
result of your research show us that most of the students have problems with omission, right?
Yes.
57%. I saw it. Um, so what does the data suggest us as a teachers? I mean, what we are going to do with this data? Will your research stop? I mean, you have presented your papers, right? And after this one, as a teacher, you see that there are 57% of students have problems in writing complex sentence, especially in omissions. So what are you going to do as teachers?
So, because looking at the errors found, like related to the omissions, so the teachers get the descriptions that the students uh, have errors in constructing complex sentences, especially in the absence of the part of speech, for example, like the use of verb inflections, a noun, and article, for example. So for the errors, the teachers uh, can find another teaching material. I mean, a teaching media, or teach more about complex sentences later.
Okay.
Emphasize on the use of how to construct complex sentences rather than other type of rather than other type of sentences like simple sentence or compound sentences. So more emphasize on complex sentences, because in academic writings it is really suggested to use various type of sentences, not only just simple sentences. Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much, Miss Paradise. Okay, please, other students. Uh, oh, I'm sorry. Other participants. Okay, no more. You can write your questions in the chat room. No more. Pak Suhaimi. Hello, Pak Suhaimi. Do you hear us? Sudah bisa bergabung dengan kita, Pak Suhaimi? Well, if you have no more questions, we are moderators and co-hosts say thank you very much for your great presentation and also a great question from the participants. Thank you very much for your attention. And we remind you that while you are having your lunch break, you may not leave the Zoom meeting. So you can leave the breakout room, but not the Zoom meeting, because we will back at 1:30. And now you can move to another breakout room if you are willing to. Okay, thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. See you.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you. Thank you, moderator.
Thank
You're
you, moderator.
welcome. Okay.
Boleh left di breakout room tapi nggak boleh left di
Daftarnya kok hari-hari kok. Kau kan Kak?
tidak.
Nah, coba mencet situ ya.
Well, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the third parallel session of the International Conference of English Language and Teaching. Thank you very much for joining Room 8. And in this room, we have four presenters. They are Miss Esriati S. Kandenan from Universitas 11 Maret. And then the second presenters is Muflihatul Zakia from Universitas Negeri Padang. And the third presenter is Mr. Richard J. Stockton from Durham University. We are very pleased to have you here, Mr. Stockton. And the four presenters is Miss Rizkia Nadira Siregar. Okay, thank you very much. And before starting the presentation, we would like to inform you that each of the presenters has 7 minutes to present their papers. So let's welcome to the first presenter. Please welcome Miss Esriati S. Kandenan.
Okay, thank you, moderator. Can you hear my voice?
Yes,
I
Miss
have a
Lauren.
problem. Okay, I have problem with my video camera. Can you hear me?
Yes, Miss.
Okay. Yes, so please help me to display my PowerPoint. Okay. Okay, next. Okay, thank you for the time given to me to share my research that entitled An Analysis of Types and Functions of Parallelism in Matthew Henry's Commentary on the Whole Bible. Okay, next. Before I explain more about my study, I'll give you a brief description about the writer and the book from which I took the data of my study. The writer was Matthew Henry, who lived in 1662 until 1714. He published the first part of his commentary in 1708, and the Gospel commentary itself was published in 1710. His commentary has been translated into many languages, including Indonesian. And the Indonesian translation can be accessed in the form of a series printed book, or online, or offline by installing it freely from the Google Play Store. And parallelism is one of the rhetorical devices in the book that is very significant in its frequency of use. That's why I focus my research on the use of parallelism in this gospel commentary. Okay, now I have the next. Okay, I have two purposes of this study. The first is to identify and classify the types of parallelism found in the Matthew Henry's Bible commentary, especially that was taken from the Gospel of Matthew. And the second one is to identify and analyze the functions of parallelism used by Matthew Henry in his book. And then the next. Okay, I use a qualitative method of study, and the data source of the study is the Matthew Henry commentary, especially from the Gospel of Matthew. And I collected the data by doing content analysis and focus group discussion. And in analyzing the data, first I identify the parallelism in the commentary. And then the second one is analyzing the use of parallelism in the commentary. And the third one is classifying the types of parallelism and their function in the text. Next. Okay, so this is the table of my findings. Yeah, so from this table, we can see that 62.2% of the parallelism are in the form of synthetic, and then 32.2 in the form of antithetic, and only 5.6% in the form of synonymous type of parallelism. And then for the functions of parallelism in the Gospel of Commentary, that become my data for this research, it is found that 48.9% of the parallelism function is to enrich the idea or sentiment in the phrase or clause, especially for synthetic and synonymous parallelism. Okay, and then for the conclusion of my research is that synthetic parallelism is the most frequent type of parallelism used by Matthew Henry in the Gospel of Matthew commentary. And then Matthew Henry used the parallelism specially for synthetic and synonymous for the purpose of enriching the sentiment or idea in the parallel phrases and or clauses. That's all for my presentation. Thank you for your kind attention.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Esriati Eskandanan. Now we come to the second presenters, Ms. Muflihatul Zakiyah. Ms. Muflihatul Zakiyah. Okay, I'm so sorry. Ms. Muflihatul Zakiyah asked us to play the video that she has already made for the presentation because he has something, he has some problems with the internet connection. Okay. Nggak bersuara. Excuse me, can you hear the voice of the video?
No.
No? Okay. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now we come to our third presenter. He is Mr. Richard J. Stockton from Durham University. Okay, please, Mr. Stockton.
Yes. Should I share my screen or do you have my PDF?
Yeah. Do you need some help to share your screen?
I should be able to manage it. No problem. Just like that, yeah. Okay. So let me start. So I studied English as an additional language learner identity through fictional narrative in Indonesia. And I'll give a few details about that. So, oh, wait, I'm going too far here. Okay, so basically the purpose is this, that on the one hand, you have research on use of story in English language teaching, and on the other hand, you have narrative inquiry, which is widely used in ELT research. Both of them are based on story, so there ought to be some connection between the two of them. However, it turns out there's quite a gap. Why is that? Story research is very retroactive, whereas narrative inquiry research is constructivist. So I followed almost entirely Dornier. So he did a very large scale quantitative survey and interview studies and established a learner identity model. The ideal self, which is individualistic, the Atu self, which is traditional, and the learner experience self. However, there was some problems. So pictured below is Martin Lam, who did some of his research actually in Indonesia here. And he found two things. One is that the ideal individualistic self is really only manifest in urban settings among learners, and the Atu self is quite hard to identify anywhere at all. So how about method? What I did was looked at arts-based research. So arts-based research is relatively new, therefore the methods and the assessment criteria are open to debate. I ran 3 pilots with high school English learners, and they used Dornier's self model to basically create metaphors of the themes of their identity and the conflicts that exist in their life. And then I used coding and memoing to identify what were those themes. And it was very easy to find both individualistic and also traditional aspects of the learner's identity in their stories. And there was also a very big and hard to miss issue of confusion and aimlessness. As far as findings and results go, it was no problem to identify traditional self, which the large scale survey research was having a hard time with. It was no problem also to identify the individualistic self, the millennial global south, and there was a very large issue of confusion and aimlessness. So what? So in conclusion, in English language teaching, we want to be careful that there isn't a rift that forms between, on the one hand, urban, cosmopolitan, constructivist academics and institutions of TESOL, and on the other hand, learners and stakeholders who have traditionalist values. So for instance, I was at a conference recently where there was a kind of comical misunderstanding of the traditional values of Indonesian learners, and in the TESOL International Association, the cultural competence continuum, they've basically used pejorative language to describe the traditional or Atu self, whereas they've used all positive language for the cosmopolitan individual self. So that's basically the conclusion, is when we're designing materials, when we're teaching, when we're conferencing or whatever, is to be aware that the learners and stakeholders very often have a traditional self that's very important to them, and to watch out that something that might be coming in the future is are already happening, is a rift is forming between the academics who are cosmopolitan and constructivist and the learners who are traditional in their identity. So that's my presentation. Stop share, just like that.
Nanti. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Stockton, for sharing such interesting, beneficial ideas. And now we come to our last presenter, Ms. Rizkiah Nadiroh Siregar. Are you here, Ms. Rizkiah? Yeah, Ms. Rizkiah. Okay, we are going to play the video of the two presenters that may not come to this conference. Okay, please, Mr. Dan.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, here I would like to present my research under the title An Analysis of Argument of Students' Argumentative Essay by using Toolmin model. Purpose of the research. There are two purposes of this research. The first one is to investigate the argument elements of students' argumentative essay by using Toolmin model. And the second one is to investigate the quality of argumentation of students' argumentative essay by using Toolmin model. According to Toolmin, argument is composed of three elements, namely claim, data, warrant, backing, qualifier, and rebuttal. So based on these 6 elements, the argument elements and also the quality of argumentation of students' argumentative essay would be investigated. The next one is research method. The type of this research is classified into a descriptive research.
The subject of this research is the 5th semester English department students at UMTS Padang Sidimpuan. And writing test is used as the instrument of this research to get the data related to the argument elements of students' argumentative essay. So students were asked to write argumentative essay by choosing one topic that had been given. There are two topics here. The first one is related to the organization or students' activities on campus and also related to the course that must be taken by the students in UMTS Padang Sidimpuan. The next one is research finding. Based on the analysis, it was found the mean score of each element that used by students in their writing argumentative essay, including claim, data, warrant, backing, qualifier, and rebuttal. So claim, the mean score of claim is 0.87, data 1.73, warrant 0.6, backing 0.37, qualifier 0.2, and rebuttal 0. So here we can see that claim and data is the most element that used by students in writing argumentative essay. But rebuttal, when students are asked to write the argumentative essay, students did not contain any rebuttal in their writing argumentative essay. And then the quality of argumentation of students' argumentative essay was assessed. In assessing the quality of argumentation of students' argumentative essay, the analytical framework in assessing of the quality of argumentation as proposed by Erdogan et al. In 2004 was used. There are 5 levels here, and based on the analysis, the level of the quality of argumentation of students' argumentative essay was fallen into level 2, in which argumentation has arguments consisting of a claim versus a claim with either data, warrants, or backings, but do not contain any rebuttals. And the last one is conclusion. The research has shown that the argument elements that most often used by students in writing argumentative essay is claim and data. However, fewer presented the elements of warrant, backing, and qualifier. Even it was found that students did not contain any rebuttal element in the argumentative essay. Turing model consists of 3 main elements of argument, such as claim, data, and warrant. And there are 3 other additional elements, such as backing, qualifier, and rebuttal. So using all of elements of argument is crucial in contributing to an effective argumentative essay. So that's all of my presentation. Thank you for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, let me greet Miss Lee Kuei Cheng first. Miss Lee Kuei Cheng, how are you? Thank you for joining room 8. Well, now we are going to watch the presentation video of Miss Muflihatul Zakia.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am Muflihatul Zakia, a graduate student of English Department of Faculty of Languages and Arts, Universitas Negeri Padang. Here, I'm very delighted to be one of the presenters at the 8th International Conference on English Language and Teaching. Today, I would like to present you an article entitled Student Challenges and Strategies in Learning EAVL During the COVID-19 Pandemic. This presentation was divided into 4 parts. the first thing that I'm going to tell you that the purpose of conducting this study. Then we'll come to the methodology, results and discussion. The last one is about conclusion. It's almost been a year that COVID-19 become pandemic in every country, including Indonesia. This led us to a new normal where any kind of activities should be done from home, including education. So teaching and learning activities has been done in distance, like we have been experienced right now. So the switch over from learning face-to-face to online learning brings out some challenges for both students and the teachers in learning and teaching English as a foreign language. So this study were conducted to examine the challenges and the strategies for learning English as a foreign language during the pandemic from students' point of view, whether they perceive differently on challenges or difficulties in two different learning modes, face-to-face learning and online learning, and whether their strategies used is different based on the learning modes and the student's achievement level. To achieve those goals, a qualitative descriptive research was conducted involving 45 students of a state senior high school in Batam, Indonesia. The sample was taken by using purposive sampling technique. They are the second graders. Why don't we didn't choose the first and the third grader because the first graders have not experienced the two learning modes yet. They only experience learning online, while the third graders have different focus. Yeah, that is to graduate. So that's why we choose the second grader as our sample. Then to collect the data, an online interview was done, and then the collected data were analyzed qualitatively. And here are some results, the results of the research that is about challenges of online learning. In online learning, the students found some challenges like internet connection, noise, when they are having a meeting virtually, online speaking practice since they have to stay at home. So socializing is rarely done by them, and self-directed learning management because they learn from their own home, so they have to, responsibility to direct their own learning at home. And eye fatigue because online learning use technology oriented. It means that they use digital devices like smartphones and laptops, so they often always see the smartphone and the laptop that make their eyes fatigue, and they are challenged to survive with their mental health, since they are not fully socialized with others. But in face-to-face learning, they found different challenges, that is understanding new words. In face-to-face learning, in the real classroom, they rarely use translation tools online like we use here in online learning, so that become their challenges. They have to bring their dictionary book or their smartphone, whenever it is permitted to be taken to the classroom. And they have limited multimedia resources. Unlike in online learning, every materials are delivered digitally. So that's why. And how about the strategy used? In online learning, they use using translation tools, right? The strategy to improve their vocabulary and reading, they use translation tools online. And to improve their writing, they write anything in English since they have a flexible time in online learning. And then they watch several videos on YouTube and other platforms spoken in English, and then sometimes they creating vlog, reading English books, novels, manga with the English subtitles, and replying teacher explanation videos. In online learning, teachers tend to to provide the students an explanation video so they can replay it whenever they want. But in face-to-face learning, they use strategies like taking notes, practice by doing assignment from teachers only, and reading textbooks available. So if we compare between the good achievement students and bad achievement students, the good one tends to use metacognitive strategies, cognitive strategies, and social strategies, while the students with low achievement tend to use cognitive strategies, social strategies. But they are lack of knowledge about using effective strategies, since they survive in their mental health right now in online learning. So I think we need, as a teacher, need to provide them with the knowledge of what strategies that they can use to cope their problems related to their mental health. And effective strategies is one of them. So it can be concluded that the strategy used is different based on the learning modes by the students, and the learners with a high achievement level use different strategies from the ones with the low achievement. And some EVA learners are aware of what learning strategies to use by considering the situation they face. It means that not all students know what strategies that fits them better. And recommendation for the teachers is introduce the learners to various strategies and guide them to find those that suit them better. And for the further researcher, I think it's a demand to explore which strategies are better implemented in this unpredictable period. I think that's all from me. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now we come to the question and answer session. So we invite you to ask a question to our presenters, to Mr. Stockton and Ms. Esriati S. Kandanan. Mr. Stockton, can I ask question as moderator?
Yeah, fire away.
Okay. I really want to know how could we differentiate between EAL with other like English for specific, no, with English as a foreign language, English as second language, and how do the learners learn through EAL?
Right. So it's just a matter of word choice. And why did I choose that word? For one, I am Canadian, and it's quite common in Canadian Thessalonian. For two, English as a second language doesn't exactly apply to the high school students in the big city in Indonesia who may speak multiple languages, maybe a Chinese language, maybe Javanese, Indonesian, they know some Arabic, maybe they take Mandarin or French class as well, so that doesn't apply. And since the study was done at a international school, it doesn't really make sense to use EFL either, since the students are quite familiar with English. It's not foreign to them, and many of them have been abroad and so on. There's some criticism, actually. There's a PhD paper out there that says EAL is cause it, let's say, creates Foucauldian, as in Michel Foucault, lack, and it makes us think of English learners in terms of lack-based thinking. But nobody is taking the suggested term that researcher, student researcher, doctor argued for. So EAL seems to work pretty good. I emailed heaps and heaps of professors. A lot were critical of terms like learner, second language, and so on. But since I followed Dornier and he used L2 in his model, the phrase, then I just adopted it, and then elsewhere I've used EAL. So that's sort of the story behind that.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Stockton. So it's a
Sure.
matter of term, right?
Yeah, I guess like there's a number of authors and researchers who talk about linguistic superdiversity, or they don't want to say that there's any language at all. So that's translanguaging theory. So I mean, you got to draw the line somewhere. So that's the line that I drew, was because I used Dornier as my model. I used L2. The phrase, even though it's inappropriate, and he himself is aware of its inappropriacy. And I used EAL because it's it better suits the setting, and being Canadian myself, it's basically used in all of the Canadian government and Canadian Tesla Canada and so on literature. So that's why, and there's arguments and problems with it, and I don't know how deeply you are into this area, but I emailed Adrian Holiday, and he had a really extreme reaction to even using the word learner at all.
Oh.
So, you know, people get very touchy, and so yeah, some academics take the terminology very seriously, and get very emotional and angry about what specific words we use. So he is saying there's aspects of native speakers and racism and so on, and phrases like L2 and learner and so on. So anyways, you gotta draw the line somewhere, and if you're gonna do research, you gotta choose certain terms and definitions to work with. So that's how it went. I followed Dornier and I took EAL because it's suitable, semi-suitable, despite that there are critics who have like torn it apart on a postmodern level, but yeah.
Yeah, that's very interesting, Mr. Tuckton. But we need to give opportunities for other participants and maybe presenter to ask questions. Okay, please, ladies and gentlemen. Do you have any questions or something to be discussed in this room? Well, if there is no more questions, so we as the committee say thank you very much for your participation. Thank you presenters and also participants who have joined room A. And now you may leave the breakout room. You can come to the other rooms if you are willing to. Okay, thank you very much. See you next time.
Yeah,
Assalamualaikum
thanks for
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
hosting us.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Stockton, Miss Esri. Okay, see you. Please don't leave the Zoom meeting. Please come to the main room because we have our last plenary session at 3.